Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C, and we're talking Charlton and Big C sports every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Charlton and Big C sports. Today is April the 26th, 2016. And I know, Big C, when you think about the show that we're doing, we have real sports talk, and I also want to thank our audience from all over the world, Latin America. So bienvenidos to you for sending out tweets, also from London, Berlin, as well as Canada, and of course, the great United States of America. But Big C, I know there's a lot of things coming up with the NFL draft. We have some NBA that we'll talk about as well. But I know you like to pay homage to some of the great Hollywood actors over the years, and none other than a great NFL football player, ex-player, the great Bubba Smith, Big C.
Well, Charlton, Bubba was a former #1 overall draft pick back in the mid-'60s out of Michigan State.
Yeah.
He was a humongous defensive end during that era, Charlton. He was 6'7", about 290 pounds.
Yeah.
He played, almost a decade with the Baltimore Colts after being the #1 selection overall. He finished career as an Oakland Raider, one of Al Davis's reclamation projects that he was so well known for.
Yeah.
But after his life in football, a lot of people will remember him in what you like to talk about all the time, the Miller Lite commercials. Taste great, let's fill it. Bubba was one of the staples, and I guess by having the name Bubba, he would fit down here in the South very well. He was one of the staples, but Charlton, he was really known as Hightower in the Police Academy series.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 movies that they did, and he was one of the staples in that comedy movie series as a Police Academy officer. And, after his career, he was able to continue on into the television side of things. He did a little television commentary, in football there briefly.
Yeah.
But Bubba Smith was an iconic figure because of his size. At Michigan State, where he was an All-American, he was an All-Pro with the Baltimore Colts, and he went on to film and acting and commercial career after his retirement, Charlton.
Well, speaking of that, his career had been great, and this segment is also brought to you by Bud Light, and as you good old boys down south, Big C, it tastes good, but also helps you lose weight from what I understand, Big C.
Well, I don't like my beer watered down, Charlton. Give me that full octane leaded stuff, okay?
I can understand about that. Well, Big C, there's some great things that happen in the world of sports, and I know we're getting caught up in the draft. But before we get into the draft, I want to talk a little bit about some NBA action that we saw, because the Clippers with Doc Rivers, they were so primed to make a run in the Western Conference playoffs. But now, last night at Portland, Blake Griffin's out for the rest of the season with an injury, quadricep injury, and also Chris Paul broke his hand just trying to make a defensive play. So that means their season is pretty much, you don't want to say over, but isn't it over, Big C?
Well, I would look even further than just a season, Charlton. When you talk about a bad break, no pun intended, for an organization, this could be the downfall of the Clippers. This was probably the worst night in the history of their organization. When you think about 2 superstar players being lost in one contest.
Yeah.
And Chris Paul, when he's on the floor, he is such a commanding floor general.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to distribute the ball. He can also get his shot off, Charlton. But he was also a marvelous defensive player. So the loss of Paul and Griffin came back and had played a better role than most people thought that he would. He had made that adjustment to understand that he needed to be more of a role player. But without these 2 key elements, Charlton, I think that the Clippers have a real long road just to try to stay in the playoffs.
Yeah, and when you talk about that, it was such a competitive game with Portland. Portland's a great place, #1, to watch NBA basketball. It's really the only show in town, a lot like Sacramento, but they really come out and support their team. Damian Lillard's a great player. But Doc Rivers, going back to the Clippers and Blake Griffin, they missed him most of the season anyway. So I don't think missing him is all that much of a loss for them, Big C. But I do think when you don't have a guy like Chris Paul, who Charles Barkley says is the best leader in the league, that really sets them back. What can Coach do, if he can do anything at all, to even have them think they have a chance to finish out this series beating Portland?
Well, this is going to be a true test for his son, Charlton.
Yeah.
Coming in to play point guard. Can he take command of the game? such as a Blake, such as a Paul.
Yeah.
All the pressure is going to be on Doc's son's back. How is he going to perform? This is going to be a make or break career opportunity for him.
Yeah.
But, I just don't think that they can stay with Portland. Portland, as you talk about Damian Lillard,
yeah.
The Portland coach finished third in Coach of the Year voting. He actually should have been the Coach of the Year. You think about you taking an organization that loses 4 starters from last year's team, and mainly LaMarcus Aldridge, who ended up in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And you're right back in the thick of things. You finished number 4 in the Western Conference, which if you were in the East, you'd have been the second best team in the East, Charlton.
Yeah, when you think about that, too. Last night in Portland, when he broke his hand in the second half, he didn't return. But I'm telling you, the reason that I like Doc Rivers so much is because he's the optimist. He's forever optimistic. But I just think that that's going to be a shock to them emotionally, as well as having to get through without 2 of their top players. Also, the Thunder 118, the Mavericks 104 in Oklahoma City. Russell Westbrook had 36 points and 12 rebounds. Now, he said he and Kevin Durant had great games. Durant scored 33 points, Big C, but he called Mark Cuban an idiot because he said that Westbrook was not a star compared to Durant on the team. And so what do you think of Durant defending his boy against Cuban?
Well, that's what teammates do, Charlton.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been animosity in their career in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
But they've been so competitive. That's the thing. Is there a point guard in the NBA right now that plays at a higher level than Westbrook?
No, I don't think so.
If you go back, and if you recall, when Rose had his MVP season in Chicago, you really could not tell the difference in those 2 players from Rose then to where Westbrook is now.
Yeah.
But, you look at Westbrook. This is night in, night out. He'll get you a triple-double. He'll play defense. So if he's not a star, show me 3 point guards in the NBA that are better, Charles.
Yeah, because he brings an attitude. And if he played football, Big C, he would be a defensive back just because of the way that he plays with such passion.
He'd be a strong safety. He would render a couple of wide receivers unconscious every now and then.
Yeah, he would definitely hear a lot from the commissioner. But when you think about how great he's been, I just think the injuries to Golden State with Curry being injured with the knee, and they're thinking maybe 2 weeks out, this really opened the door for San Antonio and then also OKC. But I just want to say that this segment is sponsored by Beneath His Wings Foundation and Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment. To support or donate, go to bhwf.org. If you're looking to promote events in Northern California, Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment, she's the best in the business. Send us a tweet. So also, Big C, when you think about the playoffs last night, Walker got hot and the Hornets got even in their series. So Walker had 11 straight Charlotte points during the crucial stretch and had a playoff career high of 34 points, leaving the Hornets 89-85 over the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade's still a great player, but not the challenge that he used to be to guard Big C.
Well, he's not, Jonathan. He's had a lustrous career. But, there's so many young guns in the NBA, Charlton. And when you think about having to perform night in, night out, and especially the playoffs, we talk about getting to this point in the season and the attrition on the body, the tiredness from running so many games. I know a lot of teams rest veteran players throughout the season, but you don't get a chance to rest in the playoffs. You're going to be pressured every play. They're going to run everything at you.
Yeah.
And when you got a player such as Dwayne Wade, who's gotten up there in the years, very little left in the tank, you have to pressure him all the time. You got to make him work when he's on defense. You can't let him take defense to rest. And so it shortens up his offensive game just a little bit. But, the NBA, this is what you live for, playoff time, Charlton. This is when it's competitive.
Yeah.
This is when every game counts. You can't take a night off.
Well, you can't take a night off. And I think what we're finding out right now, because I thought that Golden State was a sure thing to win this thing, and maybe they still are, but I don't think they go far without Curry. I think he makes that much of a difference on their team. He's a lightning rod of a player. I like San Antonio, but I would not be surprised if OKC gets the win over San Antonio, because I know there's always an upset somewhere, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see those 2 teams. Even if Curry comes back, he's not going to be 100% healthy, and I would love to see them repeat as NBA champions, so I'll hope that I'm able to see that happen. But even when a player comes back from 2 weeks off, Big C, he's going to be resty.
His game is going to be a little bit off, Charlton. But, when you're playing at this level and this time of the year, you're going to have 4 to 5 months to rest.
Yeah.
So you leave it all on the court. You can rehab, you can have surgery, whatever you need to have. The medical technology now to keep a player at a high peak of performance level is there.
Yeah.
But, you look at the Western Conference injuries, Charlton. I mean, all the talent in the NBA, everyone
it's amazing.
That the West would have dominated.
Yeah.
But now when you look at all these injuries, I mean, you can't count Oklahoma City out now, Charlton.
No, you can't. You can't
with
at all.
Westbrook and Durant.
Yeah.
I mean, those two horses on any given night, as you said last night, they gave you 70 points last night.
Yeah.
So if they do that on a 4 or 5 game run, you could easily see them in the Western Division Finals, if not the NBA Finals, Charlton.
Well, speaking of the Western Division Finals, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world, and you can only get it new at your Northern California Cadillac dealer. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, I know as we finish up a little bit of talk about the NBA, I think something's very funny here. We talked about it yesterday. After Scott got fired from the coaching the Lakers, they're looking at a couple of other candidates. Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, who are great on TV. I love listening to those two guys call a game. And the Warriors' Luke Walton, who only inherited the Golden State Warriors. And think about this guy. I know you love this guy, but one of those good old boys down south, Kentucky's John Calipari. Now, could you consider that? He's only used to having guys 1 year, Big C. How's he going to bring the Lakers back?
The Lakers are too old for Calipari to coach. You got players that have been around there for 2, 3, and 4 years. Yeah. He's not going to be able to handle that, Charlton.
I thought that was so funny.
But you also gotta be realistic. What's wrong with having Kobe coach the team?
Well, he already did.
He's done that for the past couple of years, but just don't let him put a uniform on. May not be a bad idea. This is a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
If the Mamba was good as what he was as far as understanding the game, and he's a very articulate, intelligent man.
Yeah.
Let him teach what he knows about the game. The Lakers wouldn't do that. Now, they brought Magic Johnson in to coach before.
Yeah.
They brought Kurt Rambis, a former player, in to coach before.
Yeah.
They brought Jerry West in, a former player, to coach the team before. So that would be right along the lines. To take people who have been a part of the organization, have them give back as far as what they knew about on the court. I think the Mamba would be an excellent choice when you look at the coaches that are out there. All you're doing is using retreads. Well, at some point, you got to put some new tires on the car, Charlton.
Well, you bring up a very good point, Big C, and I think a lot of people might say Kobe doesn't have the discipline to coach a young team to get them to winning.
20 years in the league,
yeah.
20 years, you don't have discipline.
Yeah.
To go through all of what he went through, coming into this league as a high school kid, to winning championships, to playing through injuries, through adversities in personal life.
Yeah.
He has discipline. When you talk about these other coaches and they're not winning championships, show me what coach out there is available, Charlton, on the NBA level that has won an NBA championship that is looking for a job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, Kobe, in a sense, though, he would put a lot of fire on the players because I don't think he has a tolerance. Now, think about it. A lot of players, even Rick Fox said he retired early because he didn't want to keep dealing with Kobe because he was too driven and too of a eye guy. But perhaps, Big C, that's something they can look into because you mentioned some of the great Lakers of the past that actually get off to a good start with the Lakers and coach them as well, Big C.
Well, you have to have it. When you talk about somebody driven, okay, every player is not driven in the game. I don't care whether it's basketball, football, baseball. A lot of guys are happy getting a paycheck, Charlton, because they make such a copious amount of money.
Yeah.
But every player is not a champion player, okay?
Yeah.
Kobe was a proven champion. Whether it was the Olympics, whether it was the national team, whether it was the NBA, whether it was in high school, he was a proven champion. Champions are driven. People said that about Jordan, that he was too driven.
Oh, yeah.
As a player. Magic Johnson was very driven as a player. Larry Bird, people didn't like him because he was so driven. Kevin McHale was the same way. Rick Barry, the old-time Warrior from the 70s, was a very driven player. So when you look back over eras, Bill Russell, you're going to tell me anybody was more driven than Bill Russell?
He was amazing.
the man won so many championships, he had to build a house just to put his trophies in.
I understand. And speaking of building a house with a trophy case, Big C, I know you good old boys down south, you love football. And I know there's a lot of talk coming with college football starting up in just a few months, but the NFL draft's coming up in a couple of days. And I know we've had a couple of silly reports about Manziel and some of his fiascos, so I won't really get into that. But also Cincinnati Bengals, they released linebacker A.J. Hawk. And the Deflategate saga, it can still go on if Brady continues to fight that. Do you think he should let that go before we get into the draft, Big C?
No, you fight till the end, till there's nothing left to fight for. If Brady gives up on this, then Brady is succumbing to being a loser. We know that Tom Brady is not a loser. Tom Brady, a 6th-round draft pick out of the University of Michigan, had a half a dozen quarterbacks taken in front of him, but he's had a half a dozen Super Bowl appearances also since then, and none of those guys are left in the league. So Tom Brady doesn't know how to quit.
Yeah.
You have to challenge and exhaust every avenue and opportunity when someone is challenging you, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Tom Brady a winner.
Well, thinking of that, Big C, I heard Coach David Shaw, who I love out of Stanford. I know we talked about him being the 8th highest paid coach in the Pac-12, which is crazy that there's 7 coaches in the Pac-12 that did not win a Rose Bowl that make more money than him. And it just doesn't make any sense. However, I did hear Coach Shaw, and I know he's a great man and very smart. He was on television saying when they were asking him to evaluate quarterbacks. Now, he has Hogan, who took him to 2 Rose Bowls out of 3 years, and won a Rose Bowl over Iowa in a dominating fashion, beat Notre Dame, beat USC, beat Oregon, beat all these great teams that they've played. But he was saying that he likes Jared Goff, even though Jared Goff never beat him. He still likes Jared Goff. I think he was posturing for the TV talking heads, Big C.
Well, you know, when you think about that, he liked Jared Goff. Because he had Jared Goff figured out, Charles.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
For 3 years, he had Jared Goff figured out as a quarterback. He's like, okay, the guy's going to go for a lot of yards because he's going to be behind.
Right.
We're going to go out there and dominate. We're going to enjoy sitting there watching him, trying to win the game, trying to come from behind. So he enjoyed Jared Goff because Goff could not beat him. And when you look at that coming into the draft, Charlton, you know, I think back 2 years ago, and you mentioned Manziel, who was indicted today down in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
You know, and Manziel was the 2nd quarterback taken in the draft, okay?
Yeah.
Blake Bortles was the 1st quarterback taken in the draft by Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Now, the second 2 quarterbacks taken in that draft, Charlton, were Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota.
Yeah.
We saw what happened with the Vikings last year. They made the playoffs, and I think Manziel was at home watching along with Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Also, Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Well, the Raiders had their best year in probably a half a decade.
Yeah,
Charlton.
out of Fresno State.
Out of Fresno State was the 4th quarterback taken. Now, these quarterbacks that the talking heads talk about that are NFL ready, bona fide quarterbacks. Now, when we look at the draft, Charlton, and the Philadelphia Eagles have the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
You know, they hired a former quarterback as their head coach in Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
They hired another former quarterback to be their offensive coordinator in Frank Reich.
Right.
But people are missing the boat when you look at these talking heads. They signed Sam Bradford and Chase Daniels.
Yeah.
2 veteran quarterbacks, so $30 million in guaranteed money for next season.
Guaranteed money. That's incredible.
2 quarterbacks, $30 million in guaranteed money. Now, why would you draft a rookie quarterback in the 1st round where you're going to have to guarantee him another $5 to $6 million to sit on the bench?
Yeah.
You can easily get that quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. There's plenty of quarterbacks in the NFL draft, but you made that investment in Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
You made that investment in Chase Daniels, 2 proven NFL quarterbacks that are, as the talking heads say, NFL ready.
NFL ready, yeah.
Because they've played NFL games.
Well, you know.
And you're talking about a Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Who plays Division III football. I'm not saying the kid is not a talent, Charlton.
Right.
But there's a big difference in being ready for Division III versus the NFL.
Well, see, I like when you talk about Carson Wentz and Paxton Lynch, and I still like Cardell Jones out of Ohio State because he has a size, 6'5", 250 pounds, can throw 64 yards downfield flat-footed, won a national championship playing the highest level of football at Ohio State. But I also like Hogan, and because he has played in an NFL-style offense. Think about this. Coach Shaw has sent more players onto the NFL under his tenure than any other coach in the Pac-12 during his time. And who did he do it with? Coach, he did it with Hogan at quarterback, Big C.
So think about it. The last quarterback that Shaw sent to the NFL wasn't bad.
Yeah, Luck.
He was number 1 overall draft pick, Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
He had some injuries last year, but, Coach Shaw has put some players on the highest level. He's won college conference championships with it. Dolphins never won a college championship, conference championship. So he doesn't know what it's like to win. So when you think about that, when you're in college and you can never win a college championship on any level, whether it's the conference or the national championship. Now, we talked about those quarterbacks from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Won his conference championship a couple of years in a row in Louisville.
Yeah.
Derek Carr won his conference championship a couple of years in a row at Fresno State.
Yeah.
They found success in the NFL, Charlton.
Yeah. And
so they came into the NFL knowing how to win.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Now, Carson Wentz, he doesn't have a body of work at North Dakota State. Really, he's played 20 games, Charlton, in 2 years. That's not a lot. Yes, they won national championships, but of the players that he won these national championships with, Charlton, in his conference, how many of them will be drafted? Now, that's the key. Are you playing against guys who are going to play on the next level? I remember years ago at the University of Miami, they had a quarterback, Gino Torretta, who won the Heisman Trophy. And the word about Gino Torretta was that he played college football with a lot of guys who will play in the NFL for a long time, which was true.
Yeah, it was very true.
Surrounded by a lot of great athletes.
Yep.
He got all the college accolades.
Yeah.
They got all the NFL money, Charlton.
And that's the thing, too, because when you think about it, Big C, I look at how the big USC and Alabama game, they're shaping up to play that game for the kickoff classic down in the great state of Texas. But what I notice about those two programs, they've had NFL caliber players, athletes for years, and I know they don't get to pay. They don't have to pay people, and the Lynn Swine has his way. Well, they don't pay people legally, Big C, legally. And of course, the great Lynn Swan, the new athletic director, he doesn't believe they should pay athletes anyway, but he won't say that about his contract. He definitely believes in athletic directors being paid. But
he's gonna walk up to the bank with his $5 million contract and say, "I know this check."
Yeah, it's definitely going to clear, Big C. But I also look at how the Eagles, they're talking about picking overall, and you mentioned that too. I look at Joey Bosa. When you talk about defensive players, Bosa's father played in the NFL at
the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins out of Ohio State.
His uncle also played with the Dolphins also at the same time.
Yeah. So, but when you look at Bosa, he's obviously a great player, but the Big Ten, compared to the SEC, do you think they have a lot more players like at Auburn or LSU or definitely Alabama or even like Arkansas that would be just as talented, or Florida as a guy like Bosa, Big C? Or is it just because he played on a dominating team and that's why he's getting more of the press? But if he was on a team that was not as dominant, would he still get the type of press, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about dominant defensive linemen, Alabama will have 3 defensive linemen go in the first round.
Yeah.
Namichi from Mississippi, even though he's had these off-field problems, I think he's the best lineman available in the draft.
Yeah.
Now, the NFL has invested a lot of money, and the teams have, in their off-season and their policing program.
Yeah.
A team that would draft him would hire a chaperone to be with him all the time.
Yeah.
If you're going to invest millions of dollars, investing a few $100,000 more in somebody to babysit this guy, and that's basically what it is babysitting. But he's too good of a talent, Charlton. As these talking heads are talking about slipping out of the first round, the NFL would err on stupidity to let this guy fall further than 15 in the draft. Anyone with a defensive line need and you want an impact player, this guy is more athletic and Dominican Sue.
Yeah. Well, that's saying a lot.
Type of talent he is.
Yeah, very talented. And week in and week out, they're always tested. And so that's when you get a real feel for how great people are, Big C. And also, I want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. Go down and test drive the all-new 600 horsepower M7, also known as a 760 Li. And when you go down and drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, as we get on one more thing about how we build up the draft. You know, the teams that win Super Bowls, they have a great defense. They also have a pretty decent running game. So we know that they're always pumping quarterbacks, paying them a lot of money. And it just pains me to see that Brock Osweiler was 5-2 in games last year, only because Peyton Manning was injured, and he's walking away with $75 million. But they just having a tough time. Steven still getting Von Miller signed. So, as a former defensive player, Big C, what do you think they should put their time and interest into? The Rams have the number 1 pick. We talked about them having Gurley, all-pro running back, but they're spending so much time trying to hide who they're going to pick. No one really cares when they pick a quarterback because that's not going to help them win anyway unless he's blocking for Gurley.
You know, if your offensive line is not solid in the NFL, it doesn't make any difference who you have playing quarterback. Now, you think about Jeff Goff being at Cal in 3 years, Charlton. He was sacked some 85 times.
Yeah.
Now, 85 times, so he knows what it's like to feel grass on his back. Now,
right.
If he needs any more insight, all he has to do is call the former Houston Texans quarterback, David Carr.
Yeah.
To know what it's like when he was the number 1 overall pick over a decade ago, to know what it's like to go to a team without an offensive line.
Well, look at
and it's been proven.
Look at Kaepernick across the bay. When he had a great offensive line, he had a great passing performance. Offensive line, a lot of guys hurt and traded, and then that goes away. But I want to pay homage to one of the great broadcasters in the business, Big C, because I know he's done excellent work, and this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it for it tough. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, you've been in the business about 40 years as an athlete, national TV and radio. Mike Tirico, headed from ESPN, he's going to be heading over to the good old boys at NBC Sports. He's such a tremendous talent, Big C. What are your thoughts on Mike Tirico and how NBC just landed a home run, I think, Big C?
Well, they really did hit a home run, Charlton. And NBC has the Olympics coming up next year in the summer, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, that's a coup that they pulled. Now, Tirico's been with ESPN since the early 90s.
Yeah.
And he's covered all the sports, Charlton. We talked about the Masters a couple of weeks ago where he had done a couple of days at the Masters broadcasting for ESPN. Many people have come to love him and known him from Monday Night Football along with John Gruden.
Yeah.
But he has crossed the wealth of sports. He's done NBA basketball for ABC. But Mike Tirico goes to NBC now. He adds a superstar to their broadcast team. You got the great Al Michaels who was there.
Yeah. Amazing.
Who has done Thursday Night Football for a long time, and Al has done several key Olympic calls. Matter of fact, Al used to be with ABC, Charlton. If you recall, back in 1980, Do You Believe in Miracles?
Oh, yeah.
Miracle on Ice, a great classic. That was Al Michaels making that call for ABC. So NBC has learned how to pull the cream of the crop away from ABC.
Yeah.
And now that they've made this coup and pulling Mike Tirico, NBC is loading up for something that we may not have known about now. Also, they may be broadcasting more Monday, Thursday night
football games
on NBC.
Yeah.
So if they get that double hitter, now you have a Mike Tirico in place already.
Yeah.
They just didn't bring Mike over to say, hey, we want to lure you away from Disney and ABC.
Right.
They brought Mike Tirico over because NBC has some big contracts in the works.
Well, you better keep him away from Lynn Swan because he doesn't believe anyone should make money but the athletic directors. He may think that's applicable to pro players and coaches and broadcasters too, Big C. But Tirico started ESPN in 1991, as you mentioned. Joe Theismann thought that he's a great commentator, never gets flustered, rattled. You talk about he's great with basketball and football. And I love when he sits there with Hubie Brown because Hubie, one of the great analysts, and he just explains things so well. But Tirico always showed him the respect when someone would ask a question. He would pass the ball over to Hubie and let Hubie commentate. And that's the great thing about Tirico. He doesn't try to be the show. He tries to build up his analyst, Big C.
Well, he's been marvelous over the years, Charlton. To watch his growth as an on-air person.
Yeah.
He's done it all. And like when we talked about, you don't get the job at the Masters just being an also-ran. You don't get the NBA Finals, Charlton, being an also-ran. Mike Tirico, and now he's going to be doing the Olympics, or he's going to be one of the top guys at the Olympics for NBC. This is a great plateau for Mike Tirico to be on, as well as being an African-American commentator, Charlton. It shows that when they talk about diversity, guys being able to handle it at any level, he's not the good on for it. He's an African-American athlete, so he showed that his fortitude and professionalism can take you to the top of the game, Charlton.
And see, I appreciate hearing that about him because there's so many people that want to break into the world of broadcast. I think podcasters open up the world of opportunity for everyone. If you know what you're talking about, you can do it. If you have the voice, someone's going to like it. I mean, we get people from all over the world tweeting that they like the show. So it's just a matter of time. We talk to people at other networks. Everybody likes something. So what I like about what NBC has done, and I worked there in production about 20 years ago, there was not a lot of diversity at the time, but I appreciate how he's broken through that color ceiling, if that makes any sense, because they're an old established network. But I'm proud of him because he's so dignified when he talks. No matter what color you are, he knows that it's kind of him and nobody else there. But I congratulate NBC for opening the door and maybe opening the door wider for more people of color in the next few years. In the next 2 minutes that we go, Big C, before we close, just want to get your thoughts again. We talked about the draft, and we talked about the Rams, and they're looking at Carson Wentz, and they're looking at Goff, and even had David Shaw, the coach for Stanford, who's beaten Goff all the time, saying that he likes Goff. And I think you made a funny statement when you said he likes him because he beats him all the time, Big C. So maybe that has something to do with it.
You're always friends with the guy who finished second, Charlton. You always pat him on the back.
Yeah, David Shaw.
It's real easy. Now, you don't feel the same way when he's second. But, if you got a guy who's your whipping boy, you really like having him around.
He's a lot smarter than the commentators. They tried to make him say, don't you think Goff is a great quarterback? Don't you think he'd be a great first-round pick? He's like, yeah, we beat him every time I played him. But anyway, Big C, in the final minute of the program, what do you expect might be maybe a surprising pick for the NFL draft coming up, Big C, in the next 30 seconds?
Well, I think the surprising pick won't be a quarterback going number 2, Charlton. Like I said earlier, the Eagles has $30 million to draft up quarterbacks in this upcoming season. It'll be very easy for them to find a quarterback in the second and third round. There's 8 quarterbacks that can be drafted this year in the NFL's draft. Yeah. They have more pressing needs. They lost Murray through a trade. They really need a big-time wide receiver in Philadelphia. Yeah. That, I think, will be the shocking pick, is that the Philadelphia Eagles will take a wide receiver number 2 in the draft, Charlton, because they're going to need some instant offense to help out that $30 million investment that they have in quarterback. Man, Big C, you say $30 million, I guess a handshake. I guess if you have that kind of money in the NFL is no big deal, but it also is no big deal. There's a reason in my pocket is fat. Okay, let's go. Okay, I understand. Big C, we're out of time again. This show goes way too fast, just like the NFL draft is here and gone, but also you talk so eloquently about some of the players that were given a boatload of money in the past, and they haven't really panned out since then. And speaking of panning out, every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, Charlton and Big C Sports. We thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.